Welcome to Authentically You Podcast, the podcast that dives deep into a transformative journey of self-discovery, self-acceptance, and self-expression. I'm your host, Kirsty Hankin, and I'm here to guide you on a path towards embracing your true, unapologetic, authentic self. In this podcast, we'll embark on a quest to uncover the secrets to breaking free from societal expectations, shredding the masks we wear, and stepping into our own power. Each episode will explore the questions and challenges that our listeners face on their personal journeys, providing practical insights and heartfelt advice. But it doesn't stop there. Authentically You Podcast goes beyond just answering your questions. We're here to introduce you to a diverse lineup of incredibly knowledgeable professionals who will share their expertise, wisdom, and experiences. We'll bring you thought-provoking interviews that will inspire and empower you. This is Authentically You Podcast, unleashing life on your own terms. I'm Kirsty Hankin, and together, let's unlock the power within and live life authentically. Remember, you are not alone on this journey. We're in this together. Hello and welcome to Authentically You. Thank you so much for being here. I know today's episode is going to be brilliant and full of gold nuggets, and I can't wait to dive in. So let me introduce you to our today's guest. Our guest believes that authenticity has to do with coming back to your natural state of being, peeling the layers, letting go of the programming, experiences, and limiting beliefs. And this is what she has been doing for herself for the past 10 years. She always shows up for herself. What you see is what you get. The more that she is herself, the more she attracts love and everything she desires. So please welcome to the show, beautiful MaZíX.
Hi, thank you. Thank you so much. I love your introduction, by the way.
Thank
you for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. I know this is going to be brilliant. I can already feel it in my bones and the energy that this is going to be a brilliant episode. So thank you so much for being here. So let's start with, tell us a bit about how you began your authenticity, your self-discovery sort of journey. Where did it start? Tell us everything.
Ooh, that's a really good question because, you know, there's many things that are coming up. The first thing that came up is like, I feel like there's like two layers, right? Like I've never been someone to, I'm going to say, pretend or show up as something that I'm not, right? At a conscious level, right? Like I never went like, oh, I'm going to pretend that I'm this. No, I've never done that.
Yeah.
However, and you know, it keeps coming this memory at a subconscious, unconscious level, I was definitely hiding, right? I was definitely on one side hiding, on the other side, I'm gonna say, showing up as something that I'm not.
Yeah.
And I really wanna dig into that because I feel like that's where my journey is. Like,
yeah.
So where was I hiding? Like I remember being 12, 13 years old and hanging out with my girlfriends. And I remember telling them, my parents don't have a clue of who I am. When I'm with them, I put myself like, you know, raised Catholic, like a saint, like I can, you know, kill a fly. And then, you know, when they weren't looking, when they were around, I was just like, oh, let's go. Dynamite. You know, really vivacious, really like, you know, kind of an adventure, and like I'm gonna say kind of not obeying the rules. I'm gonna say not obeying the rules, but they never knew, right? And they didn't know how sassy I was or how even calm I was, all the things, right? So that's, I'm gonna say, and that really, I'm gonna say, led me in my life. And when I say that, it's more like I feel like we all go through this in all of our lives, or most of our lives, you know, those that are doing the work. Like, you know, we have been taught, right? We've been programmed to be dishonest, right?
Mm-hmm.
To not show what we feel, to not show what we're going through, to not show really who we are, right? And we don't know. And this is where I come up with a second layer, which is like when I started to do my work, there's two more layers that showed up, right? On one side, by the time again, about 10 years ago that I stepped into this work, into facilitating transformation, I started because I wanted more abundance in my business. I had back then 2 businesses that I had started, they were doing good, and I wanted more.
Yeah.
And what I didn't know, I kind of knew, what I didn't know about myself is that I had this self-image of the bitch,
Mm-hmm.
of the mean person, of like, you know, again, bully, bitch, like I'm gonna go and press and now even saying it, this is the first time I've done so much work on that. I'm peeling the layers and whatnot. I'm peeling that and getting to that wound. That now that I look back, it's just I was following that couple of scripts. On one side, the script of as a leader, as a boss, as a manager, you need to be tough on your people, right? Otherwise, you don't get the results, right? So that was really, I'm gonna say, what I call the tip of the iceberg of back then, what it was my identity, my personality, right? Really, the other thing was like, when I was 6 years old, I went through something really traumatic with my brother. He punched me really, like I thought I wasn't going to make it in my stomach. I was like, I thought like, this is it.
Yeah.
But that was the beginning. Like
Mm-hmm.
from then on until about I was 21, it was this constant, like, in the name of play, right? Like it was constant. He was just punching me, and I just
Uh-huh.
my parents never did anything. Again, as a little girl, 6 years old, and I'm petite, you know, and so like going through all of my life or most of my life as a young, you know, child, just in my nervous system thinking like I'm like literally fight or die.
Yeah.
Right. And so because I was all the time in this like fight mode, regardless of my brother, it was just like constant fight mode. Mm-hmm. My family would sense that in me, and they would feel like I was aggressive. I was too aggressive. They never said it out loud, but it was just this constant, you know, this girl is like defense mode all the time, right? They never, of course, you know, you don't think about back then and talk about what 34 years ago, right? They didn't think of that, oh, what's going on with her? They just like, she's just showing up like this, right?
Yeah.
Because of her, because of my reaction or their reactions, sorry, to how I was showing up, mm-hmm. they would get jumpy. So I created subconsciously this belief that I was mean.
Yeah.
I must be mean. And so, as you know, when you have this in your subconscious, right, this is then you start to believe that about yourself. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. And so that's where I talk about like the authentic. I kind of knew, but I didn't know that was my self-image and how I'm going to say I wasn't bad, but I was the bitch, right? At times I was like, okay, if you want me to be the bitch, I'm going to be the bitch, right? Yeah. And so that's why how I was showing up. And so when I started my inner journey, you know, my spiritual, what I call my conscious awakening about 10 years ago, I started to face this, right, identity. And then it was really rough. I'm going to say it was really, really rough because, again, like I believed it. I truly believed it, right? And I was connecting with archangels back then and my guardian angels and my spirit guides. I remember the archangels, Michael was my main guide. And he was like guiding me to open up my gifts, to help others, right? To help myself, to heal. And then I remember this one time that he kept saying, I was going for a walk with my dogs, and he kept saying, you're just like us. You're just like us. Yeah. And it was like a broken record for like 2-3 days. And I was like, you know, and of course, me believing in me, and him saying that I'm like an archangel, I'm like, this is a big paradigm shift. Like, I couldn't. And I remember it now, even in my bones. I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? Until the third day, I'm like, fine, you want me to say it? Okay, just not leave me alone, right? And I had to, like, again, it was quite a journey for me to peel those layers of who I thought I was, discovering, like, and as I peeled these layers and the woundings and the traumas and the experiences that I had piled up in my consciousness, right? I encountered myself about, I'm going to say 5 years into it, finally recognizing, oh, wow, I'm actually not all that, right? I went from like, okay, I'm not bad, I'm not mean, but like I still could feel it, right?
Yeah.
And peeling the layers. Then all of a sudden one day it was just like pure love. And I recognized that was me. And I was like, whoa, this is who I am, right? So yeah, it was a journey. And that's why, to me, I go back to your introduction. The more you let go everything that you have gone through, experiences, traumas, and beliefs about yourself based on what I just mentioned, is like the more you truly show up as your most authentic self, your most authentic version, expression.
Yeah, that is an incredible journey that you're on, and I'm sure you're still on it, because we're all still on journeys, aren't we? That's never ending. And the fact that you said how rough it was, it is so rough, and sometimes when you're really peeling those layers back, it can get really rough, and some people can run away and go, okay, well, wait, not too much. But as soon as you get through it, it is magic, isn't it? It's like a feeling of pure love, like you said.
Yeah. And I feel like, again, I feel like we all have these phases, right? Like we have the phase of the old identity, let's say the bad identity, the trauma identity, right?
Yes, trauma.
And so once we collapse that, then we step into this like, okay, I am that. And there is a new level of embodiment of like, okay, really, again, it's, while it is your natural state, it's still your body and your consciousness is not used to. You're not used to being that, right? Yeah. And so I go into like that second phase of like, okay, I am that. And what does it mean? And how does that help me create life, right? I am love. And like right now, to me, I feel like I'm in the third phase, which is like really now embodying and recognizing, okay, love is creation. And so I'm here to really create my most magnificent life, and then the greatest impact that I wish to be, right? And so, but in that second phase, it was okay, I am that. And then, this is where we go, the up and down. Okay, I am, and then I forget. I am, and then I forget, right? Like, and so to me, it's like, it's quite a journey. And this is, at a core, this is what I support people, my clients, the people that are called to me, right? Yeah. It's like peeling the layers. Because again, if I were to ask, like, do you know who you are? And a lot of people say, yes, I do. I'm like, do you?
Yeah, do you?
Do you? Because if you truly would know, if you truly would know with all yourself cells, all of you, you would be experiencing absolute bliss and everything that you desire right now. Yeah. Your dream life would be like this, the world would be heaven.
Yeah. You just gave me shivers down my spine. I was like, yes, yes, yes. Yes.
Yeah. And that's why it is a journey, right?
Absolutely. And I just had an image of like, imagine if every single person in the world, I mean, we'd be out of jobs, but if everyone in this world was pure love.
There's also really always something more.
Yeah, yes, true. We're just living the truest, beautifulest, blissfulest life. How amazing would this planet be? Would this, everyone be?
Yeah.
I can just feel it now. I mean, it would, not in our lifetime, but I hope it happens. Hey.
I'm a believer that it's gonna be within my time. Oh, I am a believer that we're gonna collapse. I mean, there's a lot still to be faced. In the next few years, it's gonna get very intense, very intense. I mean, it already has started. I mean, it started with COVID. Right before COVID, people forget we were having bombs, we were having all kinds of natural disasters. It's been quite a decade, right? But it's only getting more intense. And
Right.
but we are leading into a big collapse, because ultimately I am a believer that we have come here for a new world. And we, meaning people around our age,
Yeah.
we are here, the newer generations, for a new world. And so, and you're seeing it all across, again, so much in the disasters and in the wars that we're experiencing right now, right, as a planet, as much as like the systems, the financial systems, and even the way, you can see is like how newer generations, the term job, and how the industry of I'm gonna say
Mhm.
of work is being revolutionized, right? How like so many now is like don't want to work traditionally, we have creators now. We don't not even calling it job anymore. We're like,
Yeah.
we have creators, right? And we have guides, and it's just it it is happening. It's just it's
It is.
gonna take a minute, and it's gonna get more intense. This is why, our I'm gonna say our support as your coach, I'm a mentor, I'm a guide, and many on this space we're gonna be more needed than ever, right?
Yeah.
But because there's quite the journey, and we will see it. We will see it through. And to me, again, is like um I am here for that new world where, like you said, is like imagine everyone totally knowing and owning who we truly are. Yes, that's the world that I came here to build, to be in, and right there to me is magic. We go from healing and clearing and coaching, right, to just play and magic and creation, and how
Yeah.
much better can it be. And now how do we get to experience our gifts? And now, okay, now that there is no major, I'm gonna say, hang-ups, we remember who we are. But again, it's like now the embodiment of who we are gets to be played out in
Yeah.
that world.
That is beautiful. And I think you're right about more and more people are the new way of working and playing and integrating them together. I think COVID had a massive part in that with the older generation. The younger generation is already doing it. They're doing it their own way. But COVID really hit home where I'm not actually happy with what I'm doing. What else could I be doing? And asking those questions that start your self-discovery journey. Can you tell me what you mean by collapse?
That is one of my favorite questions. I use it a lot in my world. In my world, I use it a lot in my work, and yeah, it is a question I get asked. So collapse. Okay, so I'm gonna start with the physical, and really my world is it's more like the energetic, the quantum space, and just a little bit of understanding. When I say my world, I the way I operate, I'm gonna say, is like I create transformation in the 5 areas of advanced energetics. I call it advanced energetics, quantum energetics. Is and the 5 areas are gonna be mental, emotional, physical, energetic, and the quantum. And the quantum to me is like the beyond the subconscious, is the unconscious, is the multidimensional realm, is the infinite possibility realm, where different timelines, different lifetimes, I mean, all kinds of like what people call it woo-woo, because they don't know, they don't understand, and they don't have the gift to see a sense and know. That's my regular world. I can drop in like talking to you, I can sense on what is there. So that's I came open with that gift, and that's how I live my life. And so when I say collapse in the physical world, let's be real, the financial system doesn't serve us anymore, right? The governments don't serve us anymore, right? I mean, New Zealand, where you at, is a beautiful country that I know, like that, how I'm gonna say the leaders of that country led the country during COVID. It was beautiful to see, right? And at a global level, it's a disaster, right? It's a disaster. Governments, like, they're not serving the people, right? So financial, education, right? Education is another massive one where we go to new generations go to school and they come out after 11, 13 years, whatever, depending on the country that you're at, without knowing how to deal with life.
Yeah.
Like education teaches nothing, absolutely nothing for life. We know nothing about love, nothing about our intuition, nothing about emotions, nothing about relationship, nothing about money, work, ethics. I mean, nothing. We are really learning things that don't serve us for life, right? And that's why we struggle so bad, right? And that's why so many people, more and more women, and COVID was a beautiful start to, more families are leaning into homeschooling. You know, and while there is power of in that, there is the relationship aspect that it's so important, and that's the age to do it, right? So education is another big one, right? And so I could go on and on and on. At a physical, I'm going to say in the physical world, there are so many things that are not serving us. And so when I say collapse, is there needs to be, there's going to be a go, like that is going to go. How it goes, it can be really painful, right? And there is some timelines right there. It can be really painful how it goes, or we can, I feel like this is part of the work that I bring, is like aligning with the highest timeline, meaning like change in itself is challenging, right? But it doesn't have to be suffering. It doesn't have to be bad. Like what is happening right now in, you know, in the Middle East, right, with Palestine and Israel, like, does it have to be that way? No. Like right now, it is so hard, right? I can't even feel into it because my heart starts to break, right? It's so challenging right there. But this is why, to me, I feel like our work is more important than ever, because like the answer is not where we know it, how we have done it in the past. What we have done in the past hasn't brought us to where we want. So we need to do things different. And so again, collapse, it's meaning a big change where the old ways are totally gone and the new ways come up, and the new ways that really, really serve us as a collective, as humans, as beings in this planet, right? So that's again in the physical level. Now in my world, in the energetic quantum level, is like everything, as you know, is energy, right? But there is like, everything has structures, right? It's not just like energy, the things that you don't see, like for example, the air is pure energy, right? There is atoms right there, but like what, 1% of the molecule is an atom, is matter, and then the 99% is non-matter, right? And so I'm talking about, like, again, the physical things in, like, let's say us or the world. Everything has like a structure, okay? Everything has a structure, kind of like a blueprint of a house, like, or like not a blueprint of a house. You know, for a house to exist, in its pillars, in its columns, in its foundation, right? So it's the same way. And so you can take down the wall, but the house is not going to come down if you don't take down the pillars, right? And the house is not going to really have a kind of start or have a different shape if you don't change the foundation, right? So in the same way, we and everything in the world, whether that is plants, trees, whether that is governments, anything has the same thing, structures at an energetic level. And so to me, when I talk about collapse, I'm talking about those structures within us that are keeping us in the old, right? And so for a big identity shift, to me, identity shift is even like a big, I'm going to say a big book, but it's not even everything in our structure, in our matrix, what I call our matrix. So again, I have the gift, and this is what I work with people, looking into what is the structure that is having you, like, you're like, and you might have seen it, you know, in the, I call it, to me, there's a difference between personal development and soul development. So in the soul development, like many are in the personal development and they're stepping into the soul development, right? Awakening to who we truly are, right? And then they're in there and they keep yo-yoing back. And then like, I'm doing retreats or I'm going to conferences and whatnot.
Yeah.
And then 2-3 days later, you're back, right? Why? Okay. A lot of times it's because of your identity hasn't truly changed, right? People don't really address those things in those kind of events. But again, even when there's an identity shift, I feel like there is something bigger, right? There's something bigger. Okay. And so those are what I call the matrix of us. Like you have a structure that allows you to be you. And operational, right? Now, for a new being, for you truly stepping into that dream life. And when I say dream life, of course, I'm talking about all the things that you want, right? But most important, I'm talking about who you want to be and how you want to feel, right? More than ever, people want peace, right? And so peace, joy, ease, right? Like getting out of a struggle. And so those are, to me, my work. When I look about it, it's like I look at the structures that we need to take down. So your life truly is different. So you truly are different. And again, if anything, your most authentic self.
That was explained so well. Thank you so much for that. I believe everything that you've said, and I think that Mother Nature, well, you know, everything, all the tsunamis and floods and all those types of things all around the world is Mother Nature's way of clearing out the old, bringing in the new. And I think we've got too many people on Earth, and that's probably why as well. And yeah, taking out the old, bringing in the new. I think we've had the chance to live a world of how we think it should have been, but we're not doing it. So it's now time to move into that proper, new, best, brilliant way. How do you think some people are going to be able to handle that when they aren't working on themselves or aren't even thinking about, maybe I need to change? Like they're so stuck in their ways. What are going to happen to those types of people?
So right now, the world, the planet is going through an ascension process, right? We are an ascension process, not only in our, spiritually, but if anything, if you notice, I don't use the word spiritual much. It's like energetic. The planet, literally, the energy is changing, is raising its frequency, right? This is why there's days that are so challenging for our body. What is going on? I'm so tired because the Schumann resonance is like so high up, right? So within that, and remembering that we are sovereign beings, okay, the first thing is to recognize that as sovereign beings, we have the power to choose. The power to choose what ultimately we want for ourselves. Because the world is going to keep rising, right? And so what do I mean by that? Not everyone is going to choose to rise up. Not everyone is going to choose to awaken. There are some people, there are some souls that have come here to be committed to I'm going to say, the path of suffering, the path of density. And that's okay. Because it's like anything, you go to kindergarten, right? And if you don't do the lessons, like you don't have to. It's up to you.
Yeah.
Right. And to remember, for all of us that have come here and we're supporting the realization of the new world, right? It's like to remember that this human consciousness avatar, this human avatar, is a projection of our higher self, right? And so our wise self, and there's so many layers to that, right? There's so many levels, but let's say our soul ultimately is the one that decides. The soul is the one that awakens us. We don't awaken. Like, the soul is the one that says when is the time to awaken. So there are some souls, because this planet is such a playground of all densities. I mean, you literally have people, again, Middle East, right? That they're so, I'm gonna call them two-dimensional. It's just pure, authentic survival, right? Where it's just food, material things, and that's it. There's not even real connection or emotions, right?
Yeah.
That's a two-dimensional space, right? And they have come here for that, right? And so as the planet keeps raising its frequency, it's going to become harder, but it's almost like there's going to be a split in timelines. And those are going to stay, those that are desire those kinds of lessons and that kind of life will stay there. It's their prerogative, it's their choice. Now, for the rest of us, those that have come here and desire more, again, the soul is the one that decides, right? And so this is where my work mainly centers into raising the frequency, right? Like us awakening, but raising our frequency to the truth of who we are, which is like the basic, I'm going to say the foundation, the minimum level. I'm going to put that in quote mark. This is kind of a weird term, but I'm going to say the minimum is love. Okay. Yeah. And so the more we raise to that and we keep raising our frequency, that what we become, it's gonna create that impact at an energetic level to others. So those that are ready, that their soul says, okay, it's time, right? By being in contact with us, then they get to awaken, right? And then they're gonna be guided, because again, remember, the soul is the one guiding them. They're gonna be guided to those that are ready to help them. So this is really, really important. And I love your question so much, because one of the big things that I did recently, I led a group experience into breaking the archetypes, all archetypes of the savior, the victim, and the perpetrator, which is 3, one and the same, right? And so the savior, it's so important, because again, we go into like, so many people are suffering, yes. And the most powerful and effective tool that we have to support is, first and foremost, do you raise your frequency. And as you raise it and peel the layers, again, you realize it's about changing timelines. It's about going through guidance. It's like, okay, what am I meant to do here now? Am I meant to even say anything? Sometimes, and I've seen it so much, is like, we just don't need to say anything. Sometimes it's just us being in that space and being with people is creating that impact. I'm never gonna forget, recently in an event, in this event that I mentioned, one of the people joining, who has been a client for a little while, he had just a baby. He had just had a baby. And he told us that he loved being with his baby, but he couldn't be around the baby. He couldn't carry him. He couldn't be around when he was out of integrity. And so to me, it's like, this is it. This is exactly what I've been aiming to share with you. That because the baby, is the baby shaming you? Is the baby telling you, you're out of integrity, Dad? You're doing this or you're doing that? No, right? The baby's just there. He's newborn, literally had 3 days old, right? He's just there being his high frequency. But the high frequency was awakening in him the shadows that he needed to clear up. See? Wow. And so that's, to me, the power of us doing our inner work and raising our frequency, where you just, wherever you go, people just naturally, oh wow. They awaken, their shadows come obvious, not because of shaming, but because it's like, you need to recognize something in order to let it go. Say, okay, this shadow, I'm complete with that. I'm complete with the lesson. Bye. And I come back more and more to my natural state.
Yes. So for someone starting on their journey, it's sort of about being conscious of things. So if something is upsetting you, or something you don't like the way someone said something, or any sort of emotion that sort of comes up, be conscious of that and work on, hey, why was I feeling like that? that, do you feel like that's a really good place to start when someone's coming in? Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I love that you made it so simple. It's a, yes, it starts with that. Don't, because the main thing why we have, I'm gonna say, a low frequency, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like why the baby, like I said, the baby's like being a
Yeah.
baby, it's so cute, right? And why we are like lower frequency, because we haven't been taught whatever comes up, feel it.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, feel it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, imagine babies, we babies, and we're gonna use this baby, right? A baby, what is the baby's first language as a newborn? Energy.
I was like,
Subconscious. Everything is like it's not even energy. It's like it's literally subconscious.
Yeah.
The quantum. That's the baby's. It's assimilating. The baby doesn't even know, doesn't understand the planet that he just landed, and it's just like it's everything is through the subconscious, right? And through the subconscious, she is receiving everything from parents, from culture, right? And so that's the first language, right? And so you don't know what you don't know. You're just like, wow, just receiving information, right? Now, remember when babies start to grow, like they start to feel, right? They start to feel emotions, and that is gonna be the second layer, right? And then as we grow, then it comes the adults. No, you shouldn't say that, or you shouldn't feel that. Don't cry. And even as babies, we're being programmed, right? As soon as a baby cries, we're right away being programmed to not feel, to hide, to disconnect from those feelings. So the best way to start to unravel, I'm gonna say the density, because imagine it's like, okay, oh, I have a really good metaphor that just came through. Okay. It's like I've never seen this before. Okay, so energy is like cotton candy. You know how it's so light and so fluffy, right? So as babies, we're like, oh yeah, there's so much energy, right? And then what is again with the programming, like we start to pack it. We start to pack it. We start to repress it, and then layer after layer after layer after layer. And then the cotton candy from air, what did happen to the cotton candy, right? It became a pack of sugar times 10 million.
Yeah.
Right? And so when you start to notice what shows up for you, right? Imagine sugar, cotton candy, right? It's like, oh, there's a thread. Just let it move through, recognize, okay, that's there, okay. Just allow yourself, feel the emotions, don't repress it, because repressing it, it's just saying, again, what you've done before. That is not gonna get you to where you want to be.
Oh, I like that. Well done. Societal expectations are something that, well, you've already touched on. Where, and we've talked about parents as well. So when you were saying at the beginning, you were mentioning that we're actually being dishonest with our true selves. I've never heard of it put that way, and it's so straight to the point, and I love it. Because it is, we wear masks and stuff, but we're actually being dishonest with ourselves and not being our true self, which is what we are here to be and what we want to be. But societal expectations, parents, teachers, people with authority have put us in, like you said, the little cotton candy floss has pushed it all down, and we need to be opening up and moving towards being our true authentic selves rather than being dishonest with ourselves. So like you said, it is about taking each little thing that comes up and really feeling it. But I just want to make a point that you might have a few things come up at once, but don't try and deal with everything at the one time, right? That's just gonna how do you feel about that?
I'm gonna say this, okay? When there are many things come up, remember that many things are stories.
Yep.
Okay. I think the worst that we can do is like, and the stories, it's in the mind. Okay. To a certain extent, because there are stories anchor in our bodies, right? The
Yeah.
trauma. This is where we talk about trauma, right? What I would say is like, okay, some people come to my, experiences and they say, I want to clear absolutely everything. And I'm like, no, you don't want to. No, you don't. That would be put you on overdrive.
Yeah.
Because there is so much, again, like cotton candy, it's super, super packed, right? No, you don't want that. You want whatever it is that you desire right now, right? Focus on one thing. And that I feel like is relevant what you just said, right? Like just ask for like 1, 2, 3 things. Because again, especially if we're talking about trauma, it can be super, super hard, challenging, and heavy, right? So you want to make it as gentle and as easy as possible. Now, if things are coming up all at once, let go of the stories. Because that's, again, is disconnecting you from what is happening in you. Instead, like notice, if anything, if many things are happening, it's normally they're not all disconnected.
Yeah.
There's one main thing. So observe, okay, let's say here at work, someone is yelling at me, right? My kids are yelling at me. My husband is yelling at me, right? Clients even are yelling at me, and that never happens. Okay, there's a theme right here. Okay,
Yeah.
there's a theme. And the theme is not so much what they're doing, but how you are feeling.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
That's the important thing. It's not what they're doing. Because let's say if someone were to start to yell right now, I'd be like, okay, they're yelling.
Yeah.
And to me, it means nothing at this point, right?
Yeah.
But someone else might be like, oh my God, they hate me. Or someone else might be like, they're respecting me. Someone else might be like, they're going to abandon me.
Yeah.
If someone else, see?
Yes.
It's like same actions, depending on your core wound, is going to be different. And that's the thing that you need to look into. Let go of the stories. Oh, this person did this and this, but no. So, okay, how you are feeling. And that's how you make it easy for you. And that's what ultimately needs to be addressed. Like in my world, I see a lot of people like, oh, let's address what happened with this person. It's really, it's kind of like, our set of, I'm going to say, experiences, traumas, programming is, remember I said the energetic structures, right?
Yeah.
It's like a tree. Imagine a tree. When you start to look into what someone did to you, it's like trying to deal with the branch, 58 branch, that 10 leaves that are on the extreme, right? You're not going to find the solution there.
Yeah.
Right? You need to get it like, okay, how am I feeling and where did that start?
Yeah.
And that's how you start to unpack.
Yeah. I like that too. So what you're saying is, if someone says something to you and it like yells at you, like you said, yells, if you're like, oh, okay, well, that's obviously their problem. That's the ultimate goal, right? But if you have something that sort of you feel towards it, it's not about why is that person yelling at me? It's why has that affected me in this way? Why is this emotion coming up for me?
How is it affecting you?
Yes, how is it affecting me? Love it. Love it. Because I want to try and break it down as simple as possible. Because it just makes life easier, doesn't it, when things are easy? Yes.
Yeah, it's really come down to how are you feeling? How whatever is happening outside of you is what feelings are you having?
Yeah. Because you got to remember, you can't control what they're doing. You can only control what you're doing and how you feel and what you're doing for yourself.
You know what just came up with what you said? This is the interesting thing, right? When you unpack, right, the wound, how you are feeling, okay? And this is like what I was going to say is I'm on purpose not using what everybody says is like how it's making you feel. Because I am disempowering that, like when we say, oh, that's making me feel, you're giving your power to whatever the situation and to whatever the person.
Right, yeah.
Instead, it's like, how are you feeling based on what just happened, right? Now, the thing is, when you unpack that, when you're like, okay, like, and it can be like, even if someone doesn't talk to you, it's another trigger, right? Oh my God, that means they don't love me or they are going to abandon me, right? Anything, right? when you unpack and you find, oh, this is what happened to me when I was 2 years old, blah, blah, blah. Okay. The more you unpack, the more you peel the layers, then you'll notice soon enough that it's not going to affect you.
Yeah.
And so the moment that it stops affecting you is the moment that you stop seeing it happening in your life.
Yeah. Well done. Yeah. Brilliant. Brilliantly said. Brilliant. I want to just have a chat about trauma, because I know some people, and I'm probably myself, and maybe yourself at some stage, didn't realize some traumas that you had in your life. Like you just didn't register it as trauma. Have you had any clients, or can you give us any sort of examples of where a trauma is a trauma, but you didn't really realize it was a trauma? Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. My favorite question. Thank you. Because, I love that question, and I've been actually wanting someone to ask me about that. So there you go. I manifested it. Because I feel like in the last year, I have realized exactly the answer to that question, right? Like when I awoken, within a year or so, I woke up to my trauma. Okay, this happened when I was a kid. 5 years later, I was all good. And then in the last year, I have had like several traumas, year and some, I'm going to say 3 months, several traumas come up for me. Like it's been unreal. Like I'm like, how is that in this last year I have had so many traumas surface. Okay. So, and not from this life, from other lifetimes, like really massive traumas. So how do you know it's a trauma? When you have this paralyzing fear or anxiety. Okay. I'm not calling it anxiety, but anxiety is just a nice way to avoid the word fear. If everybody would say, instead of anxiety, I am experiencing fear, you would like get healed so much quicker.
Wow. Yeah.
So much quicker.
Yeah.
Really, that's what it is. Anxiety is fear, right? And so anyways, back to trauma, right? So when, like, let's say I'm gonna get a little bit personal, if that's okay with you. This year, I've had my conscious business. I've been facilitating for almost 10 years, right? And I've never had, the classic, I don't want to sell and whatnot, but it was like, your classic from programming, right? It's not okay to sell and all that, right? This year, even though I've done lots of offers during these 9 years, this year it has been paralyzing, like terror, like, and I'm like, what is going on? Like, so I work peeling the layers with mentors. I kept going, and I found really, really big traumas from other lifetimes where I was like the stone, like destroyed, like really killed, not only killed nicely, no, like stone badly for selling in other lifetimes. So that was like a terror that was coming up. So every time that you see, again, so another telltale for you to know this trauma. For example, last year, I remember I was in my Aya. I've only done once Aya in Mexico. And I was in my Aya drop-in, journey, and ayahuasca, for those of you that don't know. I was in my journey, and then all of a sudden I was thinking about what we were going to do after we left that city. And I thought it was, we need to get a taxi when we get to Playa Carmen. And then how much is the taxi? It came to my mind. Oh, it's going to be whatever. It would have been the equivalent of $1.
Yeah.
Something. And I experienced fear, like terror. And I was like, what is going on? That this is ridiculous. I've done so many money healing programs. I've done so many money clearings. I have facilitated my own money program. Like, what is going on? Why am I feeling this way? And I remember sharing this with the person that guided me. And then that's when she said, oh no, honey, what you're experiencing is not your regular healing or blocks. That's trauma. And I was like, Oh, and that's when I learned, well, what's the difference? Like, you do the healing, and it's not working, and you still feel not better. Like, it might be better, but that deep core fear, that's trauma. And then I remember, so I journey and I asked what was my trauma, and I encountered my trauma when I was 6 years old. My country, the country that I grew up in, Peru, because now I'm pretty much Colombian. When I was 6 years old, it was overnight. The country went into like 7,000% of hyperinflation. Like overnight, the money that anyone had, like it was pennies. And then there wasn't any food around. It was like literally, and I was with my mom making, you would have to, I remember my mom having to do a line like from 8 in the morning until 6 p.m. to try to get sugar, milk, like basic, right? So that was a trauma that was passed on because my parents experienced it. We experienced it, right? Like, oh my God, like literally now we have no money. Now we have no food and there's no way for us to get it, right?
Yeah.
And so that was a big trauma that I had to clear. And again, like I said, I've been through all kinds of layers and healings, and I've never had issues in my life. But I was like, what is going on? Why am I feeling this way, right? So that's how you identify trauma.
Wow. So when you're working on, for example, money blocks and things like that, and you're healing and you're feeling good and stuff, how do you know? Well, I guess you don't know. But if you know there's something deeper and you feel like, I've done all the work, like you said, I've done all the work, but I still don't think, it's quite there. Is there a way to get to that trauma? Or is it popping up when it needs to?
It comes out when it needs to.
Yeah.
It normally comes out, to be truthful, when you're ready for your next level.
Yes.
That's when it comes out. So so no worries. You don't have to look for it. It's gonna find you.
it's gonna find you.
Just keep doing the work. And I think that there is a very important thing, because one of the things that I work with the high achieving leaders that come to me is that I work on getting them off the healing loop.
Yeah.
Okay. So the never ending healing loop, right? Again, it's like more and more and more. When you keep healing and it's not, and I'm gonna say there's no real change in you, there's a few things. One, it can be trauma, but that is not the only answer. It could be also, like in my work, again, this is why I work on the 5 areas, right? Because a lot of times what I see is people, they're addressing it only energetically, right? Energy work, or only emotionally, or only mindset, right? Or like, and then they're not addressing all 5 areas. And so that's when, but even then, like, you do get a little bit better. Things get a little bit better, but you never get out. That's because they're not. This is so interesting.
Whoops. Sorry about that. We lost connection for a sec. But you were saying that it all needed to be aligned.
They all need to be addressed. That's what I was saying, like addressed, clear, right? Not just, don't focus just on one thing, right? And that's, to me, like ultimately one of my favorite things to do when I work with people is like, I really work in the quantum, because it's 98% of you, right? It's literally like all the things that you don't know. And my favorite thing on that is, I'm gonna say, my focus is not only the person feeling good, right? My and manifesting their best life. Like, to me, is like, I am here for soul evolution. Soul evolution, meaning like, I make sure that, let's talk about, like we said, like abandonment, right? Oh my God, right? So, or the traumas that I just mentioned, right? So I make sure that when I get to the core of what's going on in the matrix, so I can collapse it, right? When I get to the core, is, to me, is like, I want to make sure that this lesson, whatever we find, it's done across all your timelines and your lifetimes. So you don't need to keep repeating and your next life, more lessons. No. It's like, let's just be done with it. because like you already been there, done that. Let's grab what you intended to grab, like meaning what you intended to learn, and move on.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that. And yeah, because it is. It's a loop, isn't it? That goes into lifetime after lifetime, ancestry.
If you don't address it.
Yeah, and you don't address it. Oh, I love that. I love that. The other thing I was going to talk to you about was when you mentioned right back in the beginning that you inherited not inherited, you built yourself up as being the bitch and being that rough, nasty, mean girl. And do you believe that started when your brother started hitting you?
Yeah. And again, this has been with years of like finding out what happened, what was it, right? Because like I was told that before, like I remember being 12 years old when I heard this, is like, you used to be an angel, you used to be so quiet, right? And then something happened and now you're this. And I wasn't told what. They just said this, right? And so it's fascinating because I remember in the last, I don't know, I'm gonna say, let's say 2 years ago, I said that to my mom. I shared that memory, and she was like, what does that mean? What did that person mean? I'm like, Mom, you were next to her. And my mom was not present, unfortunately, very much back then. But like, and again, it's like, our parents are in their own world, right? And so again, she didn't say what, she just said this. I'm like, what do you mean? I used to be an angel. What? Like, then of course my mind goes into like, oh, I must be bad, right? And so that's when, again, I didn't know what. I didn't know when. I knew what, right? That was my perception, right? And then as I awoken, and then I realized when I remember that memory, because I had put it in the back burner, 10 back, right? When it came to the surface, I started to do some investigation. I contacted a couple of people that I thought might have a clue what happened, who was around me, and that's when I started to learn. It's like, oh, like I had forgotten that I had been in that space for 21 years. It was all like blocked out. And then when my cousin, the ones that took care of us, she told me, but what are you talking about? She was like, I wasn't there, but like, this is what you lived all the way until you went to the States. And I was like, oh, and then all the memories came. I was like, oh, this is how I lived my life. Okay. And so again, talking to people and then my own meditations, my own journey. That's how I found it.
So most of the things that you try and search out for are actually, you need to do the inner work to find those.
Oh yeah. And again, this is like, I am a omniclaire, full-on psychic, right? And then so the way that I use my gifts is exactly with my clients, is like, I ask a few questions. I'm like, I do a little bit of like what I call the Sherlock Holmes. I'm asking questions, and then I'm like, and then when I catch something, okay, there's something there, and then like, again, I'm able to see what was the memory, when was that, and in my mentoring, I really like to guide the person to discover it for themselves. I'm not like, I know I can see it, but I have found in my path that it's so much more powerful when they can see it for themselves. Because then like, oh, now it makes sense why, boom, 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 right? All the things, how I'm being, why I'm acting this way, and all these things.
As a parent myself to a 3-year-old boy, I am noticing how important my role is, and it's scary. But is there anything that you have any sort of advice, or what do I want to say? What do you want? What would one thing be to help parents help their children?
So there's a lot I have to say on that, but like the one thing I want to say is like, remember that your kids have come also with their soul lessons to be learned, clear. So just as you have come with same journey, right, with an agreement of things that you want to experience, your kids have come with the same agreement, right, for themselves, right? So I feel like, okay, so there's a little bit, I'm going to do a little kind of, I'm going to say a kind of a side note.
Okay.
For those that are going to have kids in the future, okay, and this is something that I've done before with clients, is like, you can, one of the things that I have facilitated is when new souls are coming in, I work with a new soul in a way that we upgrade their agreement. So they don't have to come into the density of like struggle, pain, hard lessons, and whatnot.
Nice.
They truly can come. And even like with the client I was mentioning earlier, like baby born, he asked me for a blessing for the baby. And so I talked to the baby, and we really quickly, we upgraded his timelines.
Yeah.
Right? So that's something that, like, to me, again, to what you're saying, if everybody would be in their truest self, right? That's, to me, is another thing, is like that would help the change of the world.
Yeah.
If every single parent would know that we can address this before the soul comes in, we can be like, hey, you don't have to come in anymore into like having hard lessons, suffering, pain. You don't have to. You can just like coming into a higher frequency, into really just experiencing joy and laughter and creation.
Yeah.
Then, that is possible. I wanted to do that kind of as a side note. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, for those that right now have already kids, it's like, remember, like, they have come here for lessons. Now, as you do the work, you as a parent, like a lot happens in my circles, in my spaces, is like, or even when I'm working one-on-one with my clients, they ask me, can I put my kids through that? And then I'm like, yes. So you can do the work, and through their higher self, and your higher self and their higher self, they can receive the updates, the upgrades, and the clearings, and whatever it is that you are receiving. Okay. Mm-hmm. So that's a really powerful way to support your kids. Okay. Now, again, what keeps coming is to really let go of guilt, right? Because, like, the fear is like, oh my God, I have a big responsibility.
Yeah.
Like, remember, especially from 0 to 7, right? They are absorbing, they're learning everything, but they're learning everything. Remember the first language? The quantum, the subconscious and unconscious. So your most important job is, I would say, do your work. Do your work of shifting your frequency, right? Of shifting not just your vibration, because remember, vibration is situational. It's like your frequency. And like, to me, it's very important to understand what I mean by frequencies. Your frequency is your natural state. Mm-hmm. Okay. There's a moment, remember when I said phase 2, I was like, oh my God, I remember I'm love. And then I'm like, I forget. And then I remember and I forget. And now it's just, now I don't even have to, like, it's effortless. It's natural, because that's who I am, right? So again, the more you come back to your natural self, right, that's what you're going to pass over to your kids, right? Mm-hmm. And then the other thing is, like, really, again, honoring the human, like, a beautiful thing I feel like is, like, I love how so many conscious parents are in this space. And I want to say it just for anyone, again, just to drop a seed. It's like, it's beautiful to see parents now that are with their kids discovering who that little person is, right? Not just telling them, like, how I was raised, and many of us were raised, like, you are supposed to be this way and blah, blah, blah. And this is why we hide, right? Because I'm not that way, but they want me to be that way. So I'm going to show up in that way with them, and I'm going to hide who I am, right? Because, there's such a pressure. This is who you need to be, how you need to show up from parents. And then you disconnect from yourself and you hide who you are, right? Mm-hmm. So again, and then you forget in the hiding, right? You believe what you're playing, the role that you're playing, right? So again, the invitation is like, be curious with your kids. Be curious who they are. like how are they manifesting themselves, right? Their unique gifts, what catches their attention, right? And if anything, I feel like now more than ever, the role of a parent is to be a guide, right? Like they already are infinite beings like you and wise souls, and they don't recall, even though they might have been here many lifetimes. Remember, as we don't necessarily remember when we come in, right? And so the role of parents is to be that guy and to remind them how it is in this plane, right? In this plane. But I think, and what is coming to me right there that is very important is like to how do we say this? To offer possibilities.
Oh, yeah.
This is really, really crucial because we're here, again, going back to what we were talking earlier, the new world.
Yeah.
And the new world is not like what we have known, right? So again, as you're curious with your kid, invite them into curiosity. Okay? This is how other people have done it. How good you do it.
Yeah.
And let their imagination and their own connection come through. Because that's how we're going to build a new world. When new solutions come through the newer generations. This is why us right now, we're like, our generations are having a hard time because we're like, we have memories of the old.
Yeah.
And we know we're meant to do it in a different way, but the old is taking a bigger space in our consciousness, right? So we're like, how do I open up? And this is why we need to peel and peel.
Yeah.
But they're fresh.
Yes.
Right? The newer generations are fresh. So invite them, like, how would you do it different? Like, and again, be the guide, right? Like, so they are aware, like a fire can burn you, right? You know, like it's a guide, it's a teacher, but again, with curiosity and allow them their wisdom to come through. And, you know, and the last thing, and I remember one of my clients recently asked me, and she said she had asked so many parents and she couldn't get, nothing really resonated for her until I shared this with her. And then she was like, oh my God, like, she's like, I want you. She was just like elated. So, and this was more like in the teenage space. Like she was like, my daughter is in the space of, or is in the age of right now coming across drugs, you know. I remember being her age and doing drugs, right? And she was, I don't wanna be a helicopter, and I don't wanna, like, she's like, I don't know how to support, right? And so what I told her is like something that I want to tell you, whether you have a teenager, a baby, doesn't matter, your kid, even an adult, right? This is something I asked my mom to do for me. See your kid in their highest timeline. See them surrounded by joy, living a life of joy, being their best self and experiencing the best experience. Even when they're going through, and especially when they're going through a rough time, see them receiving what they need. You're not there to save them, again, to be the guide. And of course, they're kids, you're going to feel for them. It's inevitable, right? But again, support them because this is like where you focus on, you energize, right? Where you focus on, where your attention goes is what you ultimately are creating in your life. So the best support with kids is see them, like if you see them again having a hard time, see them sharing that with ease and just again being the truest self, being their most magnificent self.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I'm just reminded of how much things can be done in the energetic quantum world that is, you can it just blows my mind. I don't even know how to explain it. There's just it never ending, the things that you can do, and it's just beautiful, absolutely beautiful. It's amazing.
Yeah, and I love that you're getting this reminder, and I feel like what often, this is why I said this is my regular, my natural world. Everything is created first at a quantum level. Everything. When we get to the physical, right? So illness, right? For for the illness to set in your body, that means that already went through all of your field. It hit your energetic bodies. It hit your emotions. It hit your thoughts, and you didn't pay attention.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
This is why we talk about coming back to the body, right?
Yeah.
To pay attention, right? And so again, it's like for anything, for new realities, for new life, for new world, it all starts how we created in the quantum world. Really, what has been
Yeah,
created, we're just attuning ourselves, aligning ourselves to that creation.
Yeah. Wow. 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 That's all I can say. That's incredible. The amount of information you've given us is just amazing. Thank you so much. If anyone would like to work with you, what do you do with them? How do you tell us everything?
Yeah. So I have different ways. Like I said, I have group experience often, right? I am looking forward to next year start to do in-person retreats again. And also I have a quantum academy opening up soon enough. So the best way is like get into my email listing, connect with me on social media, MaZíX Mahalêl. I'm sure you're going to put all the handles on MaZíXMahalêl.com. MaZíX for those listening, MaHalel.com. And so we have group experiences where I help people again peel the layers. There's all kinds of events that I do, some like teaching, some helping you get to the core, the collapsing part, some helping you like embody some things. I like to bring in my experiences a little bit of everything. And then there is the one-on-one space. I love mentoring, walking the journey with people, with leaders. For about, I'm going to say 6 months is my very delicious time. But there's also a 3-month option right now. There's even single sessions if you want to address. The one thing that I do say to people often is like, what is that you want? So know that in like, as much as I'm psychic, this is your life.
Yeah.
What do you want? Because that's my starting point. I'm not the one living your life. I'm not the one that is creating your life. You're the one. And so based on what you want to create, based on what you want to be done with, then we go in, and again, 1 session, 6 months, 12 months, we just however you want to go. And I love again to go deep, regardless of the space. I love to go deep and into full on transformation, what I call the quantum multidimensional transformation.
Oh my gosh, that sounds incredible. Everyone get on board. That sounds amazing. And I understand that you have a lovely, amazing free offer for our listeners. Do you want to tell us a bit about that?
Yes. Like I was telling you before, and we're laughing, those of you that are listening or watching, because I don't normally offer free gifts anymore in this way. But since I saw Kirsty's request, I was like, okay, I'm gonna do something for her, just for you guys. So if you're watching this, you're listening to this, I want to let you know this is exclusive just for you guys. So get on it, because I truly don't know how long I'm gonna have it out. Normally, this is something that I only share right now with my one-on-ones. It's a double gift in one. It's a bundle. Okay, it's a quantum clearing, and it just again helps you peel the layers and it's a daily clearing. Peel the layers for full-on alignment with who you truly are. And then there's a meditation that goes with that helps you anchor. So again, remember what I said, it's like, now you remember, and then the embodiment. So that meditation helps you with the embodiment part. And so it's going to be, again, MaZíXMahalêl.com/mygift.
Wow, that's incredible. Thank you so much for that. That sounds incredible. So anyone listening, make sure that you jump on board and get that freebie. It sounds delicious. Sounds amazing.
It is amazing.
So we've just got our last few questions, and these are the fun ones I was talking about. So the first one is, if authenticity was a color, what color would it be for you and why?
Yellow, because it's bright as the sun.
Oh.
And when you're your most authentic self, you shine so bright. you look like a sun, like a star.
I love that. I love that. Yes. And if you could be an animal to express your true self, which animal would you choose and how does it represent you?
Well, I am a tiger at heart. The gray tiger, actually. Majestic. I'm gonna say very observant, quiet. I'm like a cat. Like I like to love. I like to cuddle. I like to love, but I'm like very like just playful and silly. You know how cats are. We're silly. Just like we're the most fun of all. And very regal. It keeps coming very regal. There's this like ready to pounce in terms of like, there's something there and we don't let it go until we get it.
Oh, I like that. If you had a magic wand and everyone in the world had to follow one ruling you create, what would it be?
Become who you truly are. Love.
Yes. We've already talked about that too, haven't we? Yes. And the last thing is, what last words do you have? Do you have any downloads that are coming through? Is there anything that you really want to put across? Last words for you.
So I'm tuning into everyone that is listening, and what is coming is trust yourself. Trust. And, the trust is coming to me. I'm very focused, being guided to really focus on the heart. And the heart is a beautiful portal for your soul essence. This is where you connect. You start to connect to the truth of who you are, right? It's the bridge between the upper realms and the lower realms, right? And the heart, it keeps coming trust. Also, what I keep feeling is like there's some wounds in the heart, right? It's just like any other chakra, right? Any other part of your body, there's some wounds. And the more you attend to that, the more you let go and open your heart and let go of those walls that are covering those wounds, the more you're going to experience what you want. So follow what the heart is saying, even if it's the wounds, right? Recognize that there's a wound that is calling you for a reason. There's having you, hey, pay attention to me, visit this, because this is what is on your way to achieve what you desire, that your dream life.
Thank you so much for that. And thank you so much for being here. You have been an absolute brilliant guest with so many gold nuggets. I think that everyone is going to have to go back and listen a couple of times to get everything, because it was so much beautiful, magical information. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much for doing this. And thank you everyone for listening. So much love to you.
So much love. So much love. And everyone else, tune in for next week. And thank you so much for being here. We love you, and spread that love. Shine that love. See you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much for joining us on today's episode of Authentically You Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the conversation and gained some valuable insights. If you'd like to stay connected with us, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform and follow us on social media. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok at Kirsty Impact Coach, or Become Authentically You on the Facebook group. We'd love to hear your thoughts, feedback, and ideas for future episodes. Feel free to drop us a message or leave a review. Your input means the world to us as we continue to grow and improve. Remember, living authentically is a journey, and we're so glad and grateful to have you with us on this path of self-discovery and personal growth. Until next time, always remember to be true to yourself, embrace your uniqueness, and live life unapologetically, because you are truly remarkable just the way you are. This is Kirsty, signing off on the Authentically You podcast. Take care and keep shining bright.